shared. And if you have something, particularly if it's like a bottle of wine that you wanted to keep to yourself, we'll put it with you under your chair because it's going to get drunk here. And there's no such thing as like, that's mine, don't touch it. No, that doesn't happen. So let's see. We've got sound and talking and listening and trash. Picture taking, okay? Yes, it is okay. I'm gonna let Dave talk. I think that's everything. Thank you for listening. We've got the fan going, and for now we're gonna leave this open to keep the air moving. I'll probably go upstairs and open a window to get the air moving. Oh, okay, the AC's on. Very good.
So thank you all for coming. I'm Dave. So I didn't get a chance to meet everybody. And if you don't mind, Terry, you mind if I use your microphone? Not at all. I won't breathe, I promise. I'm using the microphone because we're live streaming. So I want everybody online to be able to hear this as well. So thank you all for coming. Kathy's already talked a little bit about Terry and stole my thunder with the wonderful... Who was here for Mary Gaucher last month? Did Mary have a few good things to say about this guy? Just a couple, right? And I know I mentioned last month that Walt Wilkins produced Terry's first record, and Terry was kind of stunned that I liked that first record as much as I do, but I love that first record. So we're thrilled to have Terry here. He's been on our radar for a while, and we're glad we finally got around to getting him up here. Terry's got 4 records, is that right? And one of them is just sort of brand spanking new, a few months old, so no big announcements tonight about a new record? Oh, okay. You can stay anyway. So yeah, I'm not going to, you already know. Just help me introduce Terry Klein.
Yeah, that's us in the picture. Me with braces on my teeth, his hand there on my shoulder. I was 12 at most 13. It's unlikely I was happy, but there's a smile there on my face, where some flaws can be forgiven and some things can't be replaced. And there beneath the surface you can see what I'd become. It shimmers and hums, yeah, the grief is like a millstone grinding in my gut. It's alright when it's working, but it keeps on getting stuck. 'Cause I still think that he's out there doing the same old things he did. Gnawed ashes in a metal box with blue duct tape on the lid. Yeah, I feel kinda like a monster when I smile up at the sun. It shimmers and hums. Yeah, it's the fondest recollection. Is mean in its own way. Say you'll make amends tomorrow, then tomorrow fades away. I like to think I'm an alright father. I hope my daughters would agree. Well, I'd never felt a love like that. It was not to be believed. I wake up every morning thankful for what I'm not. There's a purpose and a balance to what we have and haven't got, like shapes and colors on a canvas that all blend and become one. It shimmers and hums. It shimmers and hums. It shimmers and hums. It shimmers and hums. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here from Austin. Don't ask me what day it is. I've been driving for almost 2 weeks now, and have another week of driving left. So don't ask, but I know I have a sense that it's the weekend, so that's good. That's a good thing. Yeah, that tune is called Shimmers and Hums. It's on the record that came out in November. That record was not produced by Walt. Walt produced my first 2 albums, and we have become very best friends. I just love him so much. The most recent 2 records were produced by a fellow in Nashville named Tom Utes, who's a very wonderful person and extremely successful in pretty much everything he tries, which is kind of a cool thing if you can do it. Tom works super fast. This new record we made, we recorded 10 songs in 6 hours. And that's kind of the Nashville way. But what's fun about that is that the record is there were no overdubs. It was just a very accurate representation of me. And there's an incredible band, world-class musicians and all that sort of stuff. But it was fast. It was fast, and that's the first track on the record. I'm going to play now the last track on the record. It's all they're kind of bookends on the same concept. My family had a really rough 2022. My brother's wife, on August 1st, she is 40. She's in her late 40s. Had a massive stroke. And was in a coma for about 2.5 weeks, and is still working her way back. I was just in D.C. with my brother. My mom lost her husband, my stepfather, in December, and that's really what that first song is about. I didn't tour a whole lot last year because I wanted to be kind of on call for them. My friend Aaron Smith from Harrison, Arkansas, who's a brilliant songwriter, helped me finish this one afternoon last April. And this was the last song that made the record. It's called Starting at Zero. I woke up this morning craving fried chicken and the hand that I used to hold. But the cast iron skillet is covered in rust. I'm starting at zero again. Well, there's a drip in the kitchen. The faucet is leaking. That might just be in my head. No time for whining, best get back to work. I'm starting at zero again. Is some hanging in there? I'm holding up fine. I tell 'em whenever they call, which is rarely, if ever at all. I'm starting at zero again, starting at zero. The back garden's grown over, but I mow the front lawn so the neighbors won't be concerned. I'm lost in the thicket of a love gone to seed. I'm starting at zero again. Shadows and echoes, cobwebs and smoke, boxes piled up in the hall. Yes, I'm off to Goodwill to give more away. I'm starting at zero again. Yes, I'm hanging in there, I'm holding up fine. I tell them whenever they call, which is rarely, if ever at all. Yes, I'm starting at zero again, starting at zero again. I'm a recovering lawyer. I was a trial lawyer in Boston, Massachusetts for 15 years, and then we moved to Austin in 2016, and I've been doing this full time since July of 2016. The thing about being a lawyer in a family where there are no lawyers and nobody with like an advanced degree is that you become the designated grown-up. In the family. So if anybody needs, when people are putting together wills, I'm the executor. If somebody has a trust, I'm the trustee. And so that was the nature of things for a very long time, and it still really is, even though I am engaged in what is decidedly not a grown-up profession. It all came to a head, though, in November of 2015 when my little brother got married and asked me to officiate the wedding. That was the point at which I was like, I just can't do this anymore, guys. But I got my temporary Justice of the Peace license in New York and did it and wrote a homily giving him advice on what a happy marriage is. Because I'm an okay songwriter. I was a kind of a so-so lawyer. I'm a very good husband and a very good dad. And so, thanks. That's yes. And so I felt like I had some sort of wisdom to impart. And so I wrote that homily. 2 summers ago, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law got married. Lindsay, my wife, her sister, and I wrote this song for them and surprised them with it the night before the wedding, which is me kind of turning that homily into a song, and they loved it enough that after I played it, they asked me to sing it for them as their first dance, and I will tell you, I've played in a lot of nerve-wracking situations, but once I did that, nothing else really is ever going to come close. This tune's called Wedding Day Eve. Say I love you as much as you can. Take any old excuse to hold their hand. This stuff is basic. It's simple too, but so's a sunrise. Do the dishes when it's not your turn. It's not about what's sold or what's been earned. From the giving heart, the unexpected bloom in good and bad times. Well, you didn't ask for my advice. I'm giving it to you all the same. Yeah, we're all out in the meadow here tonight on the eve of your wedding day. Dress in layers, 'cause things will change. You can squeeze your eyes shut, the fact remains. And change will come, and when it does, best leave the light on. Be excited and full of heart. Every speck of dust is a work of art. When these moments shared make up a life you can look back on. Well, you didn't ask for my advice. I'm giving it to you all the same. Yeah, we're all out in the meadow here tonight on the eve of your wedding day. Your wedding day. Wedding day. Thanks so much. Yeah, so we moved to Austin in 2016, and one of the first things I did when I got to Austin was I went to this folk music conference called the Southwest Regional Folk Alliance Conference, which is called SWRFA. And at that conference, I met Pete and Crystal, who are an ordinary elephant who will be here in 2 weeks, and met them, saw them, and was very intimidated by how incredibly awesome they were, because I was just I was very green at that point. The thing about SWRFA is that there's a bucket when you walk in, and it has a bunch of slips of paper in it. They're called song prompts. And you were invited to take one of those little slips of paper out and write a song over the course of the conference and play it at a brunch on the Sunday. And this is a conference full of really amazing world-class musicians and songwriters and such, so kind of intimidating. But I viewed this, I knew it was gonna happen. I was very excited about it. I was like, this is my opportunity to introduce myself to this community. It's gonna be great. I'm a songwriter now. I'm not a lawyer. It's gonna be awesome. I walked up to the registration desk, and I pulled my little slip of paper, and I looked at it, and it said, "Dull women keep immaculate homes." And I shook my fist at the heavens. I was just like, how and what? My family moved to Austin for this. But I'll tell you, few songs have come as easily as this one that I'm about to play comes. I wrote it over about 90 minutes and changed maybe one word. So, and I played it for the conference, and people knew who I was after I played it, I'll tell you that. This tune's called Dull Women Keep Immaculate Homes. Well, Grandma June and Grandpa Joe lived up in Dutchess County. They had a tiny house on a big old piece of land. And that house was filled with books and sculptures and papers and paintings that take an MFA to understand. Well, sometimes Grandpa Joe, he'd almost lose his temper. He'd say, June, this house is looking like a war zone. She'd put her hands on her hips, tilt her head to the left and say, dull women keep immaculate homes. Well, Grandpa Joe passed, and oh, how she missed him. That tiny house became a shrine to their love, and then she started adopting dogs and cats and hamsters. They kept her company long with the good Lord up above. But Daddy didn't like it, not for one single second. He said, Mama, what on earth is going on? She put her hands on her hips, tilted her head to the left and said, dull women keep immaculate homes. She said, oh, I've been so blessed. Yeah, there's joy in this life, and you can find it if you're willing to make a mess. We lost Grandma June a year ago November. I hadn't cried like that since I was just a kid. We all met up at Uncle Milton's and drank and sang together, told off-color jokes like Grandma June would have did. Then we buried her in the cemetery right next to her beloved, and Daddy wouldn't say just what he put on her gravestone. Well, I read that epitaph, and there etched in granite was, dull women keep immaculate homes. Dull women keep immaculate homes. Thanks. I'm very familiar with the East Coast, given that I lived in Boston until I was 10, and then for 15 years as a grown up. And one of the things that we used to do every summer is we'd take the girls. We're now 15 and 19. We'd take them up to Maine, to the Maine coast. And we'd stayed in a town called West Tremont on Mount Desert Island. It's one of our favorite places on earth. We rented the same house every year. And when we first started going, I didn't write songs. I didn't write a song until I turned 40. I'd played guitar my whole life, but I never had written a song. Once I started songwriting, though, I was like, I have to write a song about Maine. I had there aren't a whole lot of places that make me feel the way Maine does, and so I tried and wrote a whole lot of really bad songs about Maine, which is kind of the nature of things. And then one morning, in winter in Austin, I was sitting in my writing room, which is a shed in our backyard, with corrugated metal on the outside, but it's insulated. At least the walls are. The floor is not, which kind of stinks. But that has nothing to do with anything. So I'm sitting there, and I'm looking out the window, and I see a brilliant, just red cardinal sitting in a bush on the other end of the yard. And the first line of this song came to me, and I realized it was a song about Maine, and I was super excited about that. I write every day, so the next morning I was sitting in the writing room, and I was looking out, and the cardinal was there again. And I was like, oh, this is a message somehow. And I was out there the next morning, and there it was again, working on this song. And then the next morning I was working on the song, and I realized it wasn't a cardinal. It was some kind of red blossom of yeah, so what are you gonna do? It gave me the song, the blossom. So you take it where you can get it, and that's where I got it. So this tune's called Blue Hill Bay. Proud little redbird sitting in a tree. He's too good looking to care about me. Duffy boat's headed to the Gulf of Maine. Ain't no joke on a cold winter day. The spruce trees beat by the Labrador wind. Red fox in the yard with blood on his chin. Weather coming in, 8 inches of snow. I got a chronic case of the I don't know. But I'm the prince of my dominion. I'm the lord of this domain. I'm a man for any season here on the shores of Blue Hill Bay. I split up with Janie 6 years ago, June. I could tell she was itching for something new. She's living with a painter up in Ellsworth town. I'm here in Bernard hanging around. Me and Sarah kinda sorta, but it's on and off. She works at Thurston's, her ex is a cop. He pulled me over one night last March. Tried to make me sweat while he chuckled in the dark. But I'm the prince of my dominion. I'm the lord of this domain. I'm a man for any season here on the shores of Blue Hill Bay. Every Sunday morning my daughter calls. She's working as a teacher down in Shelburne Falls. She asks what I'm doing, I've learned to lie. If you're a little older, you can understand why. I spent a lot of time looking out at Blue Hill Bay, where the only thing certain is that things are gonna change. And I'm the prince of my dominion. I'm the lord of this domain. I'm a man for any season here on the shores of Blue Hill Bay. Yeah, the shores of Blue Hill Bay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's see. I have a set list, but I'm going to deviate from my set list because I'm just that professional. So I was a lawyer, and I would ride the commuter rail in Boston, Massachusetts. And I would ride it from West Roxbury Station to South Station. I would look out the window as I was riding in that commuter rail train, and I would see this incredible expanse of land on the way up, on the way north, which is Arnold Arboretum. It's a Harvard University Arboretum, and it's gorgeous. There are incredible tall trees and meadows, and it's just amazing. And people would be out walking their dogs, and I very regularly, as I was riding that train, I would sit and I would look out at those folks, and I would think to myself, man, I wish someday I could be on the outside of this train looking in and not the inside looking out. In January 2016, based in part upon Mary Gaucher's urging, I left my law practice behind. I passed it off to a wonderful, wonderful woman who just kind of fell out of the sky, who'd been in the Manhattan DA's office, and she called me one day and was like, I kind of want to pick your brain. And I was like, I think I have a proposition for you. And so what I started to do in the first half of 2016 before we moved is I would write in the mornings and I would go into the office in the afternoon. And I would write by walking. And the place that I found that most of the songs came to me, and a lot of the songs on the first record did certainly, was walking through Arnold Arboretum. And one morning I was out there. It was a cold, gray March northeastern day, with the kind with which we're all familiar. And I saw that train go by. And I thought to myself, everybody needs a train song. So this tune's called That Used to Be My Train. Yes, 400 tons of steel and rust rumbling down the line. It's a 718 local man is making every stop. They're standing in the aisles, checking on the markets and staring at their phones. A woman with a Bible sits and prays. That used to be my train. Yes, I'd stare out the tempered glass at hemlock, oak, and white pine, crammed into the middle seat. That local kept rolling down the line. My tie was tied too tight. I was sweating in my suit. My soul shot up with Novocaine. That used to be my train. I'm not quite sure when it happened or what made up my mind. I said, for the love of all that's good and right, I'm through. I put away my briefcase. It's in a closet gathering dust with the carpet beetles chewing on my suits. And now from the top of Primrose Hill, I can see that local rolling by. There's a melody that's after me, and words getting gathered up in lines. Some folks might say I'm reckless. I respectfully disagree. I just did something crazy to get sane. That used to be my train. 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 Thanks. Thanks. I'm going to play a couple more and then we're going to take a little break and mingle. And I have albums that I'll sell to you, and we'll just have a great time during the break. It's going to be fantastic. Let's see here. I mentioned Mary, and I was so touched to hear what she said about me when she was here. I went to a songwriting workshop with her over Martin Luther King Day weekend in 2016. Are there any songwriters in here? Even hobbyists? No? Well, I was going to say if there are, you should go to one of those workshops. I had first seen Mary at Americana Fest in Nashville in October of 2015. Give a talk at the Country Music Hall of Fame. There were probably 300 people in the room. And I felt like, and this is what she does, I felt like she was talking to me. She said things that I knew to be true but had never been able to express to somebody else about the power of songwriting, the healing power of songwriting, the importance of vulnerability in songwriting. And I did something that I never do at shows. You should do this, but that I never used to do at shows, which is I stood in line to meet her and shake her hand. And I walked up and stood in line for a while, and I walked up and shook her hand, and I said, I'm at kind of the beginning of this journey that I know that you started kind of at a similar point in your life. And she said to me, she said, be brave. She said, be brave. And then she said, and come to a workshop. Which I did in January of 2016. I went and did this workshop. And one of the things that you do in that workshop is you sit around in a circle of about 20 people, and you play something new that you've been working on. And Mary was like, really, make it something where you feel super vulnerable. I had written this song I'm about to play at a songwriting workshop where I met Walt Wilkins in October of 2015, right after I met Mary. So this is all happening in such a compressed time frame, but it was just like this magical time in my life. It was kind of like after right after your kids are born. It's just sort of like everything is kind of a little bit sharper. And so I wrote this tune at a songwriting workshop where I met Walt, and didn't play it for anybody because it felt way, way too personal. It's about the fact that when initially we wanted to have kids, we had trouble, and that's the stuff of strong relationships. And so I wrote this, and then I didn't sing it for anybody until one day in January in Nashville. in a room full of people I didn't know and Mary Gaucher. And the way that worked, I'm talking so much, but it's okay. The way it worked is, you know, people would play a verse and a chorus, and Mary would say, okay, here's what you're going to do, fix that song and move on. And so I started playing this song, and I got through a verse and a chorus, and I stopped, and she said, keep going. And I got through another verse and another chorus, and she said, keep going. And I finished the song. And she walked up to me after that group meeting, and she said, you're a badass. And she said, you know, I toured with Guy Clark, and what Guy Clark would have said to you after you played that song was, fuck you. Man, I hope I don't mess this one up. This is Better Luck Next Time. I put the books in her box just as quick as I can, and I hope she doesn't see it. No. She's downstairs in the kitchen with a half-drunk can of beer. Birds keep singing and the grass still grows. Better luck next time. Better luck next time. The box goes in the closet where she never looks, and I wonder what the hell we'll do next. I sit down at the table and I try to take her hand. She says, I don't want to be touched just yet. Better luck next time. Better luck next time. I say, tell me what you wanna do, I'll do anything at all. And she says, honey, just get me out of here. So we jump into the car and we drive through the night in a useless attempt to outrun our tears. Better luck next time. Better luck next time. Well, now I'm lying on a bed in a broken down motel, and silently I begin to cry. She sits down next to me and puts her hand on my arm. She says, we'll have better luck next time. Next time. Better luck next time. better luck. Thanks. Thanks so much. All right, one more and we'll take a break. And refresh our drinks, say hello to each other, and do all that sort of stuff. This last tune in this set was born on a tour just about exactly 5 years ago. It was born on a back porch in Lynchburg, Virginia, when my college roommate and still one of my very dear friends said his daughter had asked him this question. She said she had asked him, "Daddy, does the fish feel the knife?" And it's very often the case that I will say something and somebody will say to me, "There's a song in that," and there never is. It's much rarer that somebody else will say something to me and I will say to them, "There is a song in that." It was the last show on the tour, and 1,500 miles back to Austin. I got back and wrote this over the next couple days. This is on the last record, the first record I made with Tom in Nashville a couple years ago. It's called "Does the Fish Feel the Knife?" Or does the fish feel the knife? That's what she asked me, and I did not know how I should respond. She asked me again, so "Daddy, did you hear me?" And the answer that I gave would get it wrong. Yeah, most things seem kinda simple until you poke at 'em even just a little. Does the fish feel the knife? What happens when we die? Is it kinda like sleeping? Well, she asked me this, and I was at a loss. Driving home from a wake early in the evening, I'd seen her staring up at Jesus on the cross. And you can't say no one knows, not to a girl who's 4 years old. Does the fish feel the knife? You need a license to drive a car, to shoot a buck, to cut a man's hair. Anyone can have a kid. I'll send you home, good luck, take care. Does the fish feel the knife? Well, Daddy, who's that man? Why is he always on the corner? She asked me as we sat there at the light. A cardboard sign, spare a dime or a quarter. Man, there's so much in this world that just ain't right. We let folks slip through the cracks. No, I wasn't gonna tell her that. Does the fish feel the knife? You need a license to drive a car, to shoot a buck, to cut a man's hair. Anyone can have a kid. I send you home, good luck, take care. Does the fish feel the knife? Does the fish feel the knife? Does the fish feel the knife? Or does the fish feel the knife? Thanks. Thank you. All right, come say hi.
So yeah, we got Terry set up on the porch, which is right across from the fire truck. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. No flashing lights. You got it. So just real quick, on May 4th, due to a just masterful scheduling, in 2 weeks, Ordinary Elephant will be here. Normally trying stretched out, it'd be 4 or 5 weeks in between concerts. We failed. They're going to be here in 2 weeks. We have lots of seats available. Please think about coming if you can join. There's a sign-up sheet here if you want to sign up tonight. Otherwise, sign up on the website. We hope some of you can get here. For those of you that don't know Ordinary Elephant, they were Kerrville Folk finalists in 2017, which in the Texas world of music, that's a really big deal. And they were, in 2018, the International Folk Music Awards Artist of the Year. So that's also a pretty big deal outside the Texas music world. They were very unique sound. How about any of you seen? They've been here twice before, so you know a little bit about them. We'd love to have you guys come back. We have to fill up a room. And then we're off for the summer. We're not going to do shows in June, July, or August this year. We'll be back in September with a couple more shows in the fall. We'll tell you about those later. So as Terry said, grab something to eat, freshen your drink, take a hike out on the porch, and stand in line and say hi to Terry. And buy some merch. By the way, feel free to use the yard if you want.
Okay, you're not in line.
Skunk-faced McGee walked into the bar, asked for a bourbon from the rail and a beer. Barkeep asked if he had any cash. He said, let's check in his pocket right here. He pulled a big fat roll from his old brown coat. It was all 50s and 100s for days. Knew better than to ask him how he'd had such luck. Sometimes a blind squirrel even gets paid. Yeah, good luck ain't always good luck, and bad luck ain't always bad. Oh, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. Skunk Face bought the next 4 or 5 rounds, and he stumbled out into the night. He had a brand new coat at the bar the next day, and a faraway look in his eyes. He thrown that old brown coat off the bridge into the river and watched as it floated away. He didn't know what he'd done till he felt for the money, but by then it was a little too late. Yeah, good luck ain't always good luck, and bad luck ain't always bad. Oh, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. Back at the bar, a couple days later, me and Skunk Face watching the news. Seems the cops caught a body with a hole in its head, and it Halle Becker's Sweet Mama Blues. There was a shot of the scene, and Skunk Face hollered. I said, well, buddy, what do you know? Behind the yellow tape among the spent shell casings, there was Skunk Face's old brown coat. Yeah, good luck ain't always good luck, and bad luck ain't always bad. Oh, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. I went over your Bay Bridge. It was still there. For a lot of years, I went and visited my dad and my stepmother on Cape Cod, and we spent a lot of time there. And so one morning I was out walking in Austin, and verses for this song just kind of started falling out of the sky and hitting me on the head. And I didn't think anybody was going to care about Cape Cod, a song about Cape Cod, especially not in Texas. But people like it. This is the first track on the second record that I made with Walt, which is called Tex. It's called Tex because that was my nickname. That was my dad's nickname for me as a kid. He, for no reason, so it was meant to be that I would move to Austin, I think, at some point. Yeah, so this is the first track on Tex, and it's called Sagamore Bridge. Well, they took out the circle, but the traffic's no better. $60 million just pissed away. You sit for an hour, the baby fills her diaper, but that Huggy ain't leaking, so I guess we're okay. And at Ferretti's in Brewster, roast beef and salami, sliced to perfection, that IBP meat. Folks stand there waiting in tunics and tivas, a little hungover, maybe 1/3 asleep. On a thin strip of sand out in the Atlantic, you can ascend like the Kennedys did. Provincetown salt boxes shimmer in sunlight. There's a suicide fence on the Sagamore Bridge. There's a suicide fence on the Sagamore Bridge. Yeah, that bar band in Wellfleet, they do hits from the 90s at the Beachcomber Pub on Saturday nights. It's like an ad for Viagra. They play Bush and Nirvana, hit on the barflies and get lucky sometimes. And the rich folks from Chatham, well, they don't like poor folks. Say affordable housing, it won't happen here. And in their black E350s, when they've had 4 too many, they speed on the back roads and T-bone the deer. On a thin strip of sand out in the Atlantic, you can sin like the Kennedys did. Provincetown salt boxes shimmer in sunlight. There's a suicide fence on the Sagamore Bridge. There's a suicide fence on the Sagamore Bridge. Hey, the girls in from Russia live in single wide trailers in Yarmouth and Dennis on summer J1s. They make $4 an hour serving crab cakes at parties and repel the advances of husbands and sons. And on Labor Day weekend, locals stand on the bridges waving goodbye at the folks on Route 6. Then they head back to their houses feeling smug satisfaction, mix Coke and Evan Williams, and scream at their kids. On a thin strip of sand out in the Atlantic, you can sin like the Kennedys did. Provincetown salt boxes shimmer in sunlight. There's a suicide fence on the Sagamore Bridge. There's a suicide fence on the Sagamore Bridge. There's a suicide fence on the Sagamore Bridge. Thanks. Thanks so much. One of the nicest things that anybody's ever said to me is something that Walt said to me the night of my album release party for this new record, which we had at the Saxon Pub in Austin. If you have never been to Austin, you should go. If you've never been to the Saxon Pub, you should go. It's just a great, great room. Walt has a weekly show there, so it's great. You know that. Yes. But as I was getting ready to go on stage that night, he came and talked to me and in his way, and he said to me, he said, you are a bottomless aquifer of empathy. This song is also on that second record I made with Walt, which if you're on Bandcamp, you can buy a digital download if you want. But otherwise, I'm sold out of it, which is kind of a fun, cool problem to have and to be able to say. But this is a track off of that record, which is just about the fact that you just do not know what people are going through. People in the next house over, in the next car that just cut you off. You just don't know what's going on. This was my stepfather's favorite song of mine. It's called Oklahoma. I buy a 6-pack of beer east of Chakotah at a truck stop, and I get back onto the road. I drink one after the next, and I admire that prairie sunset, and I hope I-40 carries me back home. My sister said that Dad could use a visit. I said, I don't know what good that would do. See, I've been drinking and depressed and kind of useless. She said it might not be a bad thing for you to. So I'm driving across Oklahoma, doing all I can to stay in my own lane. I should have turned around back in Arkansas, but I got my mother's blood in my veins. Oh, 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 I'm in a cold sweat west of Okema. I wish my racing heart would just give it a rest. I think of pulling off and picking up a half pint of Smirnoff, but I hear my mother's sweet voice in my head. She said, I need you to try and be there for your daddy. I know it's hard for you, just do the best you can. She was gone just a few short hours later, and Dad refused to let go of her hand. So I'm driving across Oklahoma, doing all I can to stay in my own lane. Should have turned around back in Arkansas, but I got my mother's blood in my veins. Oh, 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 oh. Be my first time at the house since the reception. I've been saying it's tough for me to get away. I'm now facing down the dear departed memories, and my daddy's grief might be more than I can take. But I'm driving across Oklahoma, doing all I can to stay in my own lane. I should have turned around back in Arkansas, but I got my mother's blood in my veins. Oh. Thanks. Let's see here. I was a smoker from when I was 13 years old until like my early 20s. And one of the things about being a kid in Los Angeles at that time is if you walked into a store and you had money, you could buy cigarettes. Like you know, it didn't matter. If you could see over the counter, they were going to sell you a pack of whatever you wanted. But the problem is you didn't have any money. Like if you're 15 or 14, you like where does the money come from? Like there's an allowance, but then that's gone, and so there were many afternoons and evenings spent casing a house, turning every last thing over, and one day this song just kind of came to me. It's called $1, 2 quarters, and a dime. I'm scrounging for $1, boy. I'm scrounging for change. I need money for my cigarettes. I got a habit I can't shake. I'll just be grateful it's nicotine and not the stuff they sell up our more way. Yeah, look between the cushions, boy, and check the bottom drawer. Yeah, we got $2.45. We still $1.60 short. Oh, don't bother checking that pickle jar. Ain't nothing in there anymore. Yeah, we need $1 and 2 quarters and a dime. Oh, just $1 and 2 quarters and a dime. Oh, I don't have a license, boy, but just take my mama's car. Oh, she's with her man down in Hermosa. He runs his book out of a bar. Oh, we'll just head over to Diaz Market, boy. That's okay. It ain't that far. I'll take a pack of L&M's. I'm sorry about all this change. Yeah, you know me, and I know you. We both know that I'm of age. Oh, I'm gonna rip this plastic wrapper off and smoke these latchkey blues right away. Yeah, we found that $1, 2 quarters, and a dime. It's $1, 2 quarters, and a dime. Thanks. I think we're gonna go someplace real dark now. Is that okay? Are you okay with that? Real, and like if you aren't, just please tell me because I have other stuff I can do. Okay, you just wait. I used to introduce a song and say that it was about my second cousin once removed, and I played it at the Bugle Boy in LaGrange, Texas, which is another just fantastic venue. And after the show, a dear friend of mine named Joanna Castillo, who's really known as the patron saint of Austin singer-songwriters, came up to me and said, it's about your first cousin once removed. But the essence of it is that in the late 1970s, my first cousin once removed, Jimmy Klein, was framed for the murder of his wife. And he was framed by the Chicago Mafia, which if you're going to be framed by somebody, don't get framed by the Mafia, okay? So now I've added some value to your lives now. I've given you some advice you can take home that you can use. So it's an incredible story. There have been books written about it and incredible magazine articles teasing out the story. I wrote this song. It's called Cheryl. I'm sorry, Cheryl, but you're just going to have to bear with me, Cheryl. And I wrote this song, and then I found afterward I would have to explain even more about what happened. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to write another song about the same thing and from a different perspective. And so we're going to do 2 songs about Jimmy. It's going to get real dark in here. This tune's called Cheryl. I met Cheryl at a bar on Delancey. It's a straight line from that night to this here cell. I was a good-looking kid from Riverdale. Just hit 26. I had a job at a private bank. Paid me pretty well. But she looked just like she'd stepped out of a movie by Louis Malle or Jean-Luc Godard. And she smiled when I asked her for her number. She said, here it is, just don't break my heart. The thrill of catching lightning in a bottle ends in ashes and a black mark on the ground. Well, me and Cheryl got married 4 months later. My mom and dad were not exactly pleased. You see, Cheryl was connected to the outfit in Chicago. I wasn't sure how, it didn't much matter to me. We bought a big old house and moved on up to Westport. and Cheryl hired a maid from car to hand. And my job at the bank kept me busy. And Cheryl kept busy moving Lupe's cocaine. The thrill of catching lightning in a bottle ends in ashes and a black mark on the ground. Well, there are certain things you'll always remember, no matter how hard you try to forget. For me, it's the call from Detective White in Westport, telling me that Cheryl and Lupe had been shot dead. And in spite of Lupe's cartel connections and the outfit's concern for just what Cheryl knew, they brought me up on a charge of double murder, and they're holding me until the trial's through. The thrill of catching lightning in a bottle ends in ashes and a black mark on the ground. Well, I doubt I can make it here much longer. I suspect I'll meet my end in this here cell. St. Peter, I won't need that spot in heaven. No, I'd rather be with Cheryl down in hell. The thrill of catching lightning in a bottle ends in ashes and a black mark on the ground. Thanks. So Jimmy didn't die in the cell. He didn't die in the cell. And so I needed to figure out a way to tell the whole story, the full whole story, which is nuts. And I needed a perspective from which to tell it. I'm a huge fan of the author Marilyn Robinson. I don't know if any of you have read anything by her. She's written 4 books about a small town in Iowa, and a couple of families in a small town in Iowa, talking about the same set of events but from 4 different narrative perspectives, and they're all beautiful books. And so that gave me the idea, I'm going to write the story from a different perspective, but I need it to be somebody who knows the whole deal. And so what I did is I wrote a song from the perspective of the person who actually did the killing. So this tune's called Well Enough Alone. And I told you it was going to get dark. I remember her from Chicago. I forget what she called herself then. I blew her brains out there in the kitchen. I blew the maid's brains out in the den. They call it wet work, but that's a cop-out. No, killing is my stock and my trade. I was told to frame a husband. He was handcuffed on that very day. Well, you won't see me coming, and I'll leave no trace when I'm gone. Oh, some folks learn the hard way. It's best letting well enough alone. The husband had an uncle. That uncle somehow got him sprung. The husband checked into a midtown hotel. It fell to me yet again to get it done. I left him hanging there from a doorknob. They looked in vain. No note was ever found. Yeah, the thrill of catching lightning in a bottle ends in ashes, a black mark on the ground. Oh, you won't see me coming, and I'll leave no trace when I'm gone. Oh, some folks learn the hard way. It's best letting well enough alone. The uncle was a loose end, and you can't have loose ends in this job. He met the maker a few nights later. It kinda looked like his store had been robbed. Well, you want me to have misgivings. You want me to be a tortured soul. But the world needs men skilled at killing. Somewhere in your heart, this you know. Well, you won't see me coming, and I'll leave no trace when I'm gone. Oh, some folks learn the hard way. It's best letting well enough alone. Thanks. Let's see. I think I have time for a couple more, and then we'll all go off into our evenings. I'm gonna forget, so I can't forget. But Dave and Kathy, thank you so much for having me. At some point, and I think the spring of 2017. My friend Jamie Harris put up a post that she was somewhere called Macum Creek playing a house concert, and I was like, what's that? And this is what that is, and it's pretty amazingly cool. So thank you for giving Texas singer-songwriters, really mostly, a space like this and a place to come. I appreciate that very, very much. And thank you all so much for being here and listening and bearing with me as I have told stories that were probably about 2 minutes too long. And let's see. So I'm going to play a couple more off the new record. This is the only real Austin song that I have. And when I play it in Austin, people walk up to me after I have done so, and they say, "I can't believe you wrote a song about whatever, insert a name in the blank." And it's always a different person. Because this character is somebody who just is woven into the fabric of the Austin music scene. The song came to me because our neighbor across the street drove the finest car ever produced in Newark, Delaware, the Chrysler LeBaron. So this tune's called Sky Blue LeBaron. I drive a sky blue LeBaron convertible coupe. Paid $700 cash to a guy in North Loop. Transmission trouble, but the tape deck works. Original rims and a Delaware smirk. I got a pearl snap shirt with a hummingbird yoke. Thrift store boots with a tidy snip toe. My jeans have a hole where my wallet poked through. Irony lives, hell, what you gonna do? Ooh, what I say? Living breath to breath, by second, by minute, by hour, by day, by day. I'm in an alright band called Bitter Revenge. Play bass and make a reggae with a couple of friends. Almost got signed about 10 years back. Those days are gone, can forget about that. My hair's long and curly and it's thinning on top. Might cause a ruckus if I cut it all off. Got a 10 o'clock slot at the Merry-Go Lounge. Hope Jenny's slinging drinks and her fella's out of town. Ooh, what I say? Living breath to breath, by second, by minute, by hour, by day, by day. We all want what we love to stay just the same. Or maybe change in the way that we wish it would change. Some stuff you think will break stays right and true. Like my sky blue LeBaron convertible coupe. Ooh, what I say? Living breath to breath, by second, by minute. Breath to breath, by second, by minute. Breath to breath, second by minute, by hour, by day, by day. Thanks. All right, I got one more. This is a puppy love song. is there an emotion as pure and wonderful as puppy love? I suspect we all in this room remember that first person who we fell for, and often, either nothing happened or it happened and it fell apart. And this happened to my daughter a few years ago, and I just remember how sad she was, and I drove her to school and came back home and sat in my writing room and wrote the song in December of 2021. And when I think a song is good, I'll do a voice memo on my phone and I'll actually write the title of it. Because if you don't write the title, it just sort of populates it with address gobbledygook. But if you want to name it, you can name it. So I put a name on it. And then I totally forgot about the song. Just completely, like the next day, I just forgot. And for a year, I forgot about it. And then one morning I was sitting in December of 22 and I happened upon the voice memo and listened to it. And I was like, And I did some more work on it, and this was the result. But man, the purity of that emotion is just something to be treasured, isn't it? Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate it very much, and thank you, Dave and Kathy, so much. This tune's called Melissa. I might as well go smoke another cigarette, 'cause you still don't love me at all. And I know that you don't like it, but you don't get a say. We've hashed that out the last 10 times you called. You stare across the room at me with those eyes of yours, even though you're standing there next to him, like you know that if you let yourself, you'd never love anybody else. We're too young for that, I guess. So much life left to live. Oh, Melissa, I whisper your name every night as I'm drifting off to sleep. I know you whisper mine, and you will till the end of time. Well, there ain't no living without longing in a heart. Don't beat right till it's been broke. I don't know how drunk I'm gonna get tonight. Depends on what kind of bottle finds its way here to me. He has his arm around you, but you still look in my direction. And you know I notice, although I'm pretending not to see. Oh, Melissa, I whisper your name every night as I'm drifting off to sleep. I know you whisper mine, and you will till the end of time. There ain't no living without longing in a heart. Don't beat right till it's been broke. I stare up at the moon from a beat up backyard deck chair. Voices hang in the air like so much river mist. You sit down here beside me, and I make a little room. If anything made any sense, we'd kiss and kiss and kiss and kiss. Oh, listen. I whisper your name every night as I'm drifting off to sleep. I know you whisper mine, and you will till the end of time. There ain't no living without longing in a heart. Don't beat right to it's been broke. Mine's been broke. Thanks. Drive safe. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. I can do that. Is there? I would love to do one more. Is there one that I haven't played that you want to hear? Okay, I'll play one from one of the Walt records. I also need to remind you that in 2 weeks, Ordinary Elephant are going to be here. They are insanely, insanely good. If you haven't seen them before, I suspect a lot of you have. And they're the very unlikely combination of being insanely talented and also the sweetest people almost literally on earth. So please do come. They do things with songs that just blow my mind. They're on my, I have kind of an anti-anxiety road playlist. and they feature very prominently on it, along with Gillian Welsh is on it. Mary's record, The Foundling Alone, is on it. Do people know about The Foundling Alone? It is, for my money, the very finest singer-songwriter album ever put together by anybody. It's just her on an acoustic guitar singing songs about being an orphan. And there's a full band version, which is cool and was produced by the Cowboy Junkies and all that sort of stuff. But the acoustic record is the one to do. And then there are a bunch of Doc Watson and people like that on it. This tune grew out of a after Thanksgiving conversation that we had with my mother-in-law in 2016. This was the last song I wrote before making my first record, and it's the last song on the first record. And we recorded it mostly live, and I was sick. This is pre-COVID, where you have a cold, you just go and you muscle it out, you gut it out. And so you can hear it in my voice, and it adds a kind of a haunting vibe to it. This is another instance in which somebody said something, and I said to them, "That's a song." This tune's called Wasted on the Living. Thanks so much. I was but a cub reporter all those years ago, working at the Chronicle Observer. Lester Perkins was on trial And the prosecutor said that Lester had killed his wife and her lover. Well, Lester was a lawyer, and he had an alibi. He said he'd been away at a conference of the bar. But the DA found a waitress. She worked just outside of town. She said she'd served him a cup of coffee the night the coupled been struck down. Well, they say life is a wasted on the living. They say true love never fades. A burnt up cup of bitter midnight coffee and a debt that'll never be repaid. Yes, the jury was instructed to carefully review every bit of evidence presented. They were out for 40 minutes. Yeah, that was all it took to send Lester away to San Quentin. The bailiff took him out. Well, I must have caught his eye. He stared down at my brand new wedding band. The sound of the shackles, yes, it haunts me to this day. He opened his mouth to speak, but the bailiff led him away. Well, they say life is a wasted on the living. They say true love never fades. A burnt up cup of bitter midnight coffee and a debt that'll never be repaid. 36 years later, I got kids and they're all grown. Grandbabies are bouncing on my knee. And all this time, poor Lester, he's been sitting in his cell, getting old and reading law books. In the penitentiary, well, they say life is wasted on the living. They say true love never fades. A burnt up cup of bitter midnight coffee and a debt that'll never be repaid. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.